Before the first star sang its note of joy, Job 38:7, before Eden's garden was planted, there stood one beside the throne. He bore no rebellion, no defiance, yet his radiance mirrored the Most High so perfectly that even heaven's thrones trembled at his presence. The divine council, Psalm 82:1, gathered, not to judge sin, for no sin was found, but to preserve the balance of creation. Their verdict was not written. Their sentence, spoken without words, echoed through the foundations of heaven. The execution was silent, without sword or flame. The blood of this one fell not upon the earth, for the earth was not yet shaped. His blood became the veil between Creator and creation, the veil of eternity, woven in the shadow of that first judgment. His name, once sung by seraphim, was erased from angelic memory. Michael feared to remember it, Daniel 10:13, and the stars themselves dimmed at the loss. And so the first execution of heaven remains hidden, waiting for the veil to be torn at the end of days. The one who was not Lucifer. He stood beside the throne before the first light cleaved the deep. His presence bore no pride, no defiance, no desire to ascend. He was not Lucifer, the morning star that fell for ambition. This one reflected the glory of the Most High, as still water reflects the sun. The divine council gazed upon him in awe and unease. His being bore no stain of sin, no whisper of rebellion. Yet in the perfection of his reflection, they saw a question that chilled the thrones. Could creation contain so flawless an image of its maker without consequence? The stars were unborn, the heavens unmarked by fire, but the thrones trembled beneath the weight of that question. The harmony of the eternal realm strained under the burden of his likeness. His existence became the silent threat no voice dared name. Lucifer's fall was for pride. This one was condemned for resemblance. His devotion, his stillness, his pure reflection of the Creator's light was judged too dangerous to endure. The council pondered in dread what might come if heaven bore such a mirror. No herald proclaimed his guilt. No scroll bore his name in accusation. His trial was held in silence. The sentence was not carved in stone nor inked on parchment, for no writing could bear so terrible a decree. The judgment was sealed by the hush of the council, and heaven itself became the executioner. His eyes beheld the throne in reverence, not envy. His voice spoke no challenge, no word of defiance, but his very being strained the bonds of heaven's order. The decree fell without sound, and the hosts of heaven lowered their gaze, unwilling to witness what must come. Michael, captain of the Lord's host, Daniel 10:13, turned his face in sorrow. The seraphim, who once sang the name of this one, fell mute. The cherubim, who guarded the glory of the throne, hid their eyes. The one who bore no rebellion became the first to fall, unmade not by sin, but by heaven's own decree. The stars, though yet unlit, carried the echo of that silent judgment. His name was erased before it could be sung, his memory sealed beneath the veil of eternity, beyond the reach of angel or man. His likeness veiled, his voice silenced, his fate forgotten but not undone. Thus came the first fall without fire, the first death without blade. A silence vast, as the firmament became his grave, a judgment hidden until the day the veil is torn, and the truth long buried returns with the breath of the end. The divine council's hidden fear. The divine council assembled in the hush of eternity. Thrones, dominions, and powers gathered in silent dread. There was no scroll of charges, no voice to accuse. Their fear was not of sin, but of a reflection too perfect to endure. They beheld him, the one who bore no stain, and in his radiance saw their own limits. His likeness to the Most High was too pure, too close. In that mirror, the council glimpsed the shadow of their own end, and dread took root where awe once dwelled. No word was spoken, for to name the fear would be to give it life. The council's silence became the sentence, a verdict not carved in stone, but woven into the hush that fell over the courts of heaven, a fear that echoed deeper than any rebellion. The stars, unborn, awaited their place, but the foundations of creation trembled. The one who bore no defiance became the cause of heaven's first terror. His stillness, his devotion, his reflection of the infinite was judged unbearable by those who served the throne. The council feared not ambition, for this one sought no throne. They feared not pride, for this one knelt in reverence. They feared the question his existence posed. Could heaven endure so perfect an image without its harmony shattering? And so, the silent decree was set. No blade would fall, no fire would consume. Heaven itself would become the instrument of erasure. The execution would leave no mark, no scar upon the courts of eternity, only the veil, woven of forgotten memory. Michael, though captain of the host, spoke no plea. Gabriel, though messenger of glad tidings, carried no word. The seraphim, whose voices once lifted his name, were struck dumb. The council sealed the fate of the one, not for what he did, but for what he was. The judgment was hidden, a secret buried beneath the throne. No chronicle recorded it, for no hand dared scribe it. The fear that moved the council became the veil that would divide creator and creation, a barrier born of heaven's own dread. The execution was unlike any fall that would follow. No defiance, no battle, no war in the heavens, only the weight of a decree so silent it became the echo shaping the veil of eternity. The stars would carry its sorrow in their first light. Thus was the first unspoken trial, the first hidden verdict, the first judgment not of sin but of semblance, a reflection too near the light, too bright to remain. The one who bore no crime was condemned by fear, and heaven itself became his judge. The execution that shook creation's foundations. The execution was not wrought by sword or flame. It was a decree too sacred for blade, too heavy for fire. No angel dared lift a hand, no herald spoke his fate. It was heaven's own will, silent and absolute, that unmade him. The fabric of creation bent beneath the weight of this hidden judgment. His blood did not stain earth nor sky. It dissolved into the unseen, becoming the first thread of the veil that would divide the holy from the formed. No fire consumed him, for no fire could be kindled against such innocence. No blade struck, for no hand dared profane so pure a being. The decree itself became the force that erased him. The stars, though unborn, felt the ripple of that moment, and the deep shuddered beneath the silent act. His unmaking was the first death without defiance, the first fall without sin, and the veil was woven from the memory heaven sought to bury. The divine council beheld what they had wrought and turned their faces in shame. The sentence was theirs, but no voice claimed it. The execution left no monument, no record, only the veil itself as a boundary none would cross. His erasure became the first fracture in heaven's harmony, a scar hidden beneath the song of the stars. And when those stars were kindled, they bore in their light the sorrow of that silent decree. The veil of eternity became the unseen wall that divided the Creator from creation. The stars themselves would reflect its sorrow, their first light dimmed by the weight of that hidden act. The execution shook the foundations of what would be, marking creation with a loss so profound that its echo became part of the fabric of time. The first execution was the first secret, buried beyond the reach of angels or men. No war was waged, no banners raised. There was no clash of hosts, no fall of fire. The judgment came not from wrath, but from fear that the reflection might one day outshine the source. The act was hidden, but its consequences would shape all that followed. The one who bore no rebellion became the first to fall, not by sin, but by decree. His blood became the seal of the veil, and his name was lost before it could be spoken. Thus the execution, silent and unseen, became the foundation of the veil that divides all that is from all that was. The sorrow of heaven's hidden shame lingers still, woven into the boundaries of creation. The stars sing their silent lament, and the veil remains, awaiting the day it shall be torn, and the truth long buried shall rise again. The name that was erased from angelic memory. His name, once spoken in the silent awe of heaven, was the first to be erased. No scroll bore it, no song remembered it. The seraphim who once wove it into their praises fell mute, and the cherubim who guarded the throne sealed their lips. Michael, captain of the hosts, dared not let it pass his tongue, for even memory of the name was feared. The decree had not only unmade the one who bore it, demanded that no trace linger in the minds of those who served. The divine council's fear shaped a silence deeper than the void itself. To speak the name would be to awaken the dread that birthed the judgment. And so the name was sealed beneath the veil, hidden beyond reach, forgotten not by accident, but by command. The memory of that name became a forbidden song, a note struck from the harmony of creation, lest it fracture the fragile order the council sought to preserve. No angel dared question the silence. The name was erased so thoroughly that even the stars, when they kindled at last, bore no knowledge of it. The heavens themselves bore witness to the weight of the decree, and the veil of eternity grew thicker, woven from the threads of forgotten memory. The one who bore no defiance became a shadow beyond recall, his name dissolved into the hush that fell over the courts of the Most High. And yet the silence bore its own testimony, for in the spaces between the stars, in the gaps between the songs of the seraphim, there lingers an echo of what was lost. The memory of the name, though buried, left an imprint on the fabric of the heavens, a trace unseen but felt, a sorrow that shapes the edges of every hymn, every prayer uttered before the throne. The name erased, but the loss endured. Thus was the first name to vanish, not by sin, but by decree. The first word to be forbidden, not by rebellion, but by resemblance. The first memory to be sealed, not by failure, but by fear. The veil became the guardian of that name, and the stars, though they sing, can never voice what heaven chose to forget. The name that terrified the thrones remains hidden, waiting for the day the veil is torn, and the heavens must remember. The blood that sealed the veil. His blood did not fall upon the earth, for the earth was not yet formed. It did not stain the heavens, for no hand dared to strike. Instead, his blood became the first thread of the veil of eternity. It wove itself into the unseen boundary that would forever divide the Creator from creation. Silent and unseen, it sealed the hidden fracture left by the judgment. The blood of the innocent, of the one without rebellion, became the mark of heaven's secret shame. The veil grew from that unseen sacrifice, a barrier not of stone nor fire, but of forgotten memory and unspoken dread. It became the wall that no angel would cross, the shadow none dared name. His blood, though pure, became the seal upon the hidden decree, the thread that bound heaven's order to its silent terror. And so the veil became more than a boundary, it became a witness, a reminder woven into the fabric of existence that something had been lost beyond recall. The divine council spoke no word of what they had wrought. Their silence became the mortar of the veil, and the blood became its seal. No star bore witness, no song recorded the act. The veil of eternity stretched unseen between what was and what would be, a boundary born not of sin, but of fear. His blood cried not for vengeance, but became the silent bond that held back the truth heaven sought to hide. And in the spaces between the stars, in the hush between the songs of the seraphim, that blood still speaks. Not in words, but in the sorrow woven into the edges of every hymn, every prayer uttered before the throne. The veil endures, its threads of forgotten sacrifice, binding the realms until the day it is torn. The blood that sealed it remains hidden, waiting for the end of all veils and the revealing of what heaven chose to bury. The echo of the forgotten execution. The echo of the first execution lingers still, not in words, but in the silence that binds the heavens. It is woven into the spaces between the stars, hidden within the hush of creation's song. The veil bears that echo, a sorrow too deep for any hymn to voice. Every prayer that rises before the throne carries, at its edge, the shadow of that forgotten act. And so the heavens sing, but their song is incomplete, for the memory of what was lost shapes the very harmony they seek to preserve. No scroll records the judgment. No angel bears the memory openly, yet in the deepest quiet, in the pauses between the thunder of the cherubim's wings, the echo can be felt. It is the unspoken lament of heaven, the cry of what was erased. The stars themselves, in their courses, bear the weight of that sorrow, their light dimmed by the burden of the veil. The echo shaped the boundaries of creation, a reminder of the fracture that no word dares name. The veil endures as both wall and witness, guarding the secret of the first fall. It divides not only creator and creation, but memory and truth. The echo of the execution shaped that division, its sorrow woven into time itself. And though the angels do not speak of it, and though the hosts of heaven avert their gaze, the veil remains, waiting. Its threads tremble with the memory of blood shed without rebellion, of a fall without sin. One day, the veil will be torn. The echo will become a voice, and the silence that has ruled the heavens will break. On that day, the hidden truth will be revealed, and the sorrow of the first execution will no longer be veiled. The stars will bear witness, and the heavens will remember what they chose to forget. Until then, the echo remains, shaping the edges of creation, a silent prophecy waiting for its fulfillment. The echo of the forgotten execution lingers at the edge of all we know, shaping the silence between stars and the hush within the deepest prayers. The veil remains, woven of dread and memory, a boundary born not of rebellion, but of heaven's own hidden shame. And yet, that veil will not endure forever. One day, it shall be torn, and what was buried shall rise, demanding all to see what the heavens chose to forget. You who hear this are invited to look beyond the surface of the written word, to listen for the silent echo that shapes creation's song. The story is not finished. The veil awaits its tearing, and the hidden truth waits to be revealed. Let not your gaze be bound by what is seen. Seek, and you will find traces of the forgotten judgment in the spaces between the verses, in the shadows of ancient scrolls. If this mystery stirs your soul, let it guide you deeper. Let your steps follow the path veiled by silence. The veil of eternity is not just a barrier, it is a summons, a call for those who dare to question, who dare to uncover what lies beyond. You are called to join this journey, to explore, to seek, and to awaken the memory of what was lost before time began. Stay with this channel, where the veil's threads are drawn back, piece by piece. Subscribe, ponder, and walk with us as we trace the echo of ancient truths. Share these words, that others might hear the silent cry of the heavens. Let the final veil be torn together, and let the forgotten execution no longer be hidden in the shadows of eternity.